All right, welcome back. We are now set to begin the Board of Trustees agenda meeting, October 22nd, 2025. Sorry for the delay. We just got caught up in a work session that took a little bit longer than we expected, but here we are. It is 6:11, calling the meeting to order. Clerk Perillo, can you please confirm the presence of a quorum?
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor Shepro?
Present.
Thank you. Trustee Ugrinsky?
Present.
Thank you. Trustee Franco?
Present.
Trustee Hill?
Present.
Trustee Giuliano?
Here.
Thank you. Mayor, Attorney Moran, Treasurer Gafka, and Attorney Leventhal are with us as well.
Or he was here.
He was here, yes.
Okay, he was
He will
here. We
return.
saw him. All right, thank you. Can we please all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Clerk Perillo, do we have announcements this evening?
I do, thank you, Mayor. First, the fall branch pickup program began on October 20th, and it began on the west side. We have a portion of our flyer front and center on the website. The annual Kids Halloween Party for residents will be held at the Country Club from 6 to 8 p.m. on Halloween, the 31st of October. The next Board of Trustees meeting is a work session. It is scheduled for the 5th of November and will begin at 5 p.m. The Conservancy Casino Royale fundraiser is scheduled for the 13th of November.
What's that? Oh, can you tell us about that?
It's going to be a very fun event. It's going to be James Bond. There's going to be gambling, but not for money, for prizes. And it's just going to be all decked out. Wear your best. I'm going to be dressed in a tux, and it's going to be...
You're going to be like Sean Connery, James, or are you going to be like...
Oh, Sean Connery.
Yeah.
That's,
And
yeah.
do you take your martinis shaken or stirred?
Stirred.
Oh, okay. All right, well, I hope to see everybody there. I plan on being there, so it should be nice. It's at the what? Victorian,
It's at the Victorian House,
the mansion,
Boogie Hotel.
which now looks like a
lot of different
haunted
names.
house, right? It's all dressed up like a haunted house right now.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, right across from CVS.
Right.
It's a beautiful space. It's going to be an amazing evening. Honoring who?
Honoring Father Frank and someone from St. Charles Hospital.
Oh.
Might be in the audience here.
Oh, okay, all right. The Conservancy is a completely different organization than Board of Trustees, so. But, we look forward to that evening, and the Conservancy is raising money for a very good cause. What's that cause?
Well, one of the things that they want to concentrate on is the expansion and the refurbishment of the stage over at the in the Harborfront Park
Over there in the northeast corner,
in the northeast corner.
the Jill
correct.
Neese Russell
Right,
stage.
yes.
Yeah, okay, very good cause. All right,
So get your tickets.
get your tickets, and that's all over the place, right? They have a they have
Yeah,
a wonderful
right,
new
go on the website.
website and everything, so, okay, wonderful. All right, we have a section on our agenda called correspondences. Clerk Perillo, do you have something that you want to read into the record?
I do, Mayor. I
Okay.
have two, please. The first reads, Dear Mayor Shepro, this is from the Port Jeff Civic Association. We would like to extend our gratitude for the thoughtful selection of plants proposed for the bluff stabilization project. As a board, the Civic Association strongly supports the use of living defenses to protect our bluffs, rather than relying solely on man-made structures. The selected plant list includes species with diverse root systems that can anchor the soil and stabilize the surface while absorbing stormwater runoff, provided the grading is done at the correct pitch. We further want to note that of the 26 plant species recommended, only 3, sand lovegrass, blue false indigo, and showy coneflower, are not native to Suffolk County, yet none are known to be harmful or invasive. Finally, 11 of the suggested species are recognized as keystone plants that both stabilize the soil and provide essential support for native birds and pollinators, helping to offset habitat loss from overdevelopment. We commend the village and the landscape designer for prioritizing native species, not only for their effectiveness in erosion control, but also for their vital role in restoring local biodiversity. The second is from a resident, and it is Ms. Monica Williams, and it reads as follows. October 1st, 2025. Dear Mayor Shepro, I live on East Main Street and have come to know of the, quote, loud noise, unquote, of cycles and bikes, 12:30 a.m. to 3 a.m., exclamation point. I did phone the local constables at the end of September to talk about the problem. They explained that they were working with SCPD on the issue. I appreciate that it took time and effort to bring peace, quote unquote. I would ask you to share the thanks that come in these lines with all of those who helped to bring such success for us. With best wishes to all, Monica Williams.
Do you have the envelope for that?
I do.
Is it addressed to,
It's addressed to you, Mayor.
oh, okay, I thought the trustees too, so I thought the trustees would want to hear that as well. Okay. Now, for the public safety and welfare update, I see Officer Berry's in the room. Do you want to come on up? Welcome, Officer Berry.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Officer Barry. I'm here from the 6th Precinct in Suffolk County, from the COPE office, and usually what we do is we report what your crime stats were for the Port Jefferson Village last year as compared to this year, just to give you an idea of what's going on in your community. So what we're looking at is a time frame from September 24th to October 22nd, comparing 2024 to this past year. And we break down different criminal incidents based on the type of crime, so one of them being aggravated harassment. There were none reported last year, none reported this year. Assaults, there were none reported last year, none reported this year. Burglary, again, none last year, none this year. Criminal mischief, that's when there's damage to property. There was 6 reported last year and none this year. Harassment, 1 was reported last year, 3 this year. Harassment is when somebody there's physical contact, like it could be a slap, a kick, a punch, a spit even. And those were one was domestic in nature, alcohol was involved, a domestic party tried to remove the alcohol from somebody and the other individual pushed them. Another one was an altercation at Tommy's where there was a bystander that got involved in the altercation to try and break it up and got pushed in the scuffle, didn't want to press charges. That was the other harassment. And another one was, again, between known parties, a domestic in nature. So those were your reported harassments. Again, I go through these just so you have an idea of when you hear like the crime in your community, what this looks like. Because your larcenies went up. So you had 1 last year and 6 this year, but this is what that looked like. We had somebody at St. Charles who lives in Lindenhurst, but reported that the Publishers Clearinghouse called this individual. It was an elderly woman, and she unfortunately got taken by the scam, as well as $220,000 from her bank account. There's a lot of these scams, so be very aware of those, those texts you get on your phone, the scam phone calls. Do not even answer them. Don't even say hello. Just with all these different intelligence and things that they do, they could just get your voice to say hello, and they can have your voice do many other things once they get you in a recording. So block all these emails, texts. We're getting a lot of these. Our financial crimes unit is who handles them. But we get so many of these things. And it's not just the elderly. This used to be like an elderly thing, get them at home on the phone during the day. And now what this looks like is our cell phones, our emails, our texts, our, the different messaging. Another thing was, the larceny was in Fairfield Apartments, but it was Tide fabric softener and Tide detergent. It was from the basement. The super had access to the basement, and when he went to go get his belongings down there, he noticed those 2 things were missing. An e-bike was stolen from somebody's property, from the front of their house. Danford's, somebody stole an iPad off the conference table. That's still under investigation. They have that on camera. Crimes of opportunity, somebody's car was open with the iPad on the front seat, and an e-scooter in the back seat. So lock your doors, do not leave your key fob in your vehicle. We're getting, I think I've mentioned this before, that's just occurs very frequently where people are checking door handles in driveways as well as parking lots, and not just taking items from the vehicles, but also taking the vehicles. So, and then another thing was at the Custom Cafe Deli, This was a known parties, they were like in their 20s, and one of the known parties took the cell phone from another, because there was conflict, accessed their Venmo account, if anybody's familiar with Venmo is, and made $4,500 worth of purchases from their Venmo account. So that's still under investigation. So those were your larcenies and what that looked like. I like to describe what each one looks like, because you hear larceny and you're thinking, are people stealing things in our stores in the village? And that's not what it looks like. Menacing was one last year, none reported this year. Same with robbery, nothing last year and nothing this year. So in total, your total criminal incidents that were reported, not necessarily arrests that occurred, there were 28 crimes last year and 29 that were reported this year. And your total calls for service, 911 to Suffolk County Police Department, were 310 last year and 315 this year. Of those, 83 were aided cases. Last year, and 71 this year. That's when somebody calls for an ambulance. We arrive at those calls as well. House alarms, 20 last year, 27 this year. Disturbances like loud music or something like that, 51 last year, 72 this year. So your total there, these are non-criminal incidents, are 282 last year and 286 this year. And your total number of arrests this year were 14 as compared to 8 last year. So that's what your calls for service look like, your criminal incidents look like, and your non-criminal incidents. And then I took the liberty of taking a look at when you have a couple active patrol checks. The patrol check is something that when we get reports from you and your community, whether they call us in the precinct or we receive them here when a COPE officer is at one of these meetings, we flag them in a database which communicates to our patrol officers like, hey, this is what the community is experiencing, this is what we need more enforcement with. So I wanted to report East Broadway, we've been focusing on that. And we've had 2 arrests, because they ended up happening to have warrants. We wrote 6 summonses. We made a total of 38 checks at that location in the past 30 days.
What location was that, officer?
East Broadway. And then another one was West Broadway. Residents were complaining of individuals congregating in vehicles at the boat ramp. I don't know if John received that one, but one of my partners received that here, doing burnouts, listening to loud music. So we've been a presence there. Since August 27th, we've had 190 checks there. So that means 190 times since that date, we've had officers sitting in that parking lot. We didn't have any arrests or summonses, but it just goes to show that we're hearing you and we're heightening our presence when we hear your concerns from the community. So that's all I have to report.
Thank you.
If you guys have anything for me.
Any questions for Officer Berry?
I'll just say thank you again. You're always extremely accessible and super helpful, and we appreciate the added patrol checks and those sort of things, so thank you.
Thank you, you're welcome.
Yeah, every time I wind up going through the lot quite a bit late at night because of family situations. And
Okay.
every time I've gone through, I see code, I see a Suffolk County police car. I've seen more Brookhaven activity over on the Brookhaven lot.
That's great.
And it's making a difference. Thank
Good.
you.
Good.
We appreciate it.
I appreciate what you're doing on East Broadway. Just keep it up. I'm still hearing complaints from my
Okay.
neighbors saying
That's
that
good
there's
to know.
cars, rushing by on East Broadway and
That's good to
missing
know,
the stop
and we
signs and
definitely
everything,
need to hear that, because we do have like an expiration of these checks. We usually, maximum 2 months, because obviously we are always getting concerns and complaints from our 6 precinct community, so we can't have them be ongoing. So that one was actually coming up and expiring soon, so at least I know it's still an issue, and we'll keep it going.
And
Thank
just keep the
Sure.
message out there saying call 911 if
Call
it's
911,
happening.
right.
Yeah, so they
Yeah,
are
sure.
aware that it's still
Right.
an issue.
Sure. Okay, thank you.
Thank
Is
you.
it possible that the message getting out for folks to call 911 has impacted the number of calls you were just,
Meaning,
well,
you think our-
versus last year?
5 more people.
only.
Yeah, it's only, for the
5,
total calls for
okay.
service, it was 310 last year and 315 this year.
315.
So not that
okay.
much of a
So
disparity.
it has impacted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Okay.
think what's really is helpful too is the whiskey unit. I think was very helpful for you guys this summer also, which I think
Absolutely.
calls aside, I think that they really were very productive this summer. You did some
Okay.
good work.
Thank you.
Nothing else from the
And you're
community?
responsive to our code enforcement team as well, and
Yeah.
we'll call Kevin Cooper up right now, the supervisor, to come and report.
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks for having me again. Another busy month for October for code. We had 9 online complaints we received. 4 were anonymous. See more people are putting some kind of contact information on the online complaints, which is helpful for me to get to call them back, let them know the disposition of the complaint, and also to just maybe if I need more information about the complaint. So it's very helpful. Thank you. Just to run down the complaints, you had barking dogs, 1 residential noise, 1 commercial noise, 1 car blocking driveway, 1 complaint of an illegal apartment in a residence, on property maintenance, and 2 tree clearing complaints. We initiated 9 code investigations for the month. 2 were into residential property maintenance complaints, 1 commercial property maintenance complaint. 1 complaint was a swimming pool that was built in the wrong place on a property. We had 2 complaints. Investigations started for illegal apartments, and 1 complaint for an illegal rental Airbnb in a residence. 1 complaint for 1 investigation for a commercial water runoff onto another commercial building, and 1 started for illegal neon lights on a business. My officers completed 9 incident reports for the month. They varied commercial noise complaints, trees being down with the storm, 2 accidents, blocked roads, smoke alarm ringing, an open burn, e-bikes, and a vehicle running in one of the parking lots that was unattended with the trunk open. So thank you for the residents for calling, letting us know that these things are happening. You are our eyes and ears, and I appreciate it. As far as activity, month to date, we've written 573 parking tickets. Last year, for the whole month of October, we wrote 522, and we have about 10 days left. The meters are only working now. You only have to pay the meters in the metered lots from Friday through Sunday now. They were off starting Monday through Thursday, starting October 15th. That's it as far as activity. Other things that happened, we were out there for the nor'easter, monitoring the streets, flooding conditions, trees down. We worked with DPW. They did a great job coming out in the middle of the night for some trees that came down. They did a great job, and we worked very well with them for the nor'easter. And events that we covered since the last meeting: the Family Fun Run, which went off without a hitch, and the Harvest Festival this past weekend. As far as personnel, you'll see my guys and girls out with our new coats, winter jackets. They look pretty sharp, so they're happy with them. Weekend coverage continues to be strong now with the 3 new officers that we hired for nights on the weekends. They've been out there, and some of the officers who have been here for a while, they're taking advantage of the later shifts, working 9 to 2 a.m. It works better for them with their family life. Also, we have 3 new cars you're going to be seeing hopefully in the next couple of weeks. They're just getting outfitted. They were delivered. They're new Ford Escapes. They're white. We're just putting the lettering on them and transferring the radios and the GPSs in them. So the guys are happy about that. And as far as training, we sent 2 of our officers today to St. Charles. St. Charles asked us if we wanted to participate in a hazmat decon drill that they had running today. So they went and they participated, put all the hazmat material on, and learned how to decontaminate if there was an incident with hazardous materials. And now if St. Charles needs help, if an incident does happen, they'll be calling my officers to help them out. And that's all I have. If anybody has any questions? All right. Thanks. All right.
Thank you, Kevin. You're doing a great job. Thank you very much. Okay, now we have the public to address the Board of Trustees section. Can we leave that there? I don't mind. Anybody mind if we leave that there?
I won't be difficult.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Thank you and good evening. Dave Knopf, 7 Soundview Drive, Port Jeff, and Chair of the Citizens Commission on Erosion. I have a couple items I'd like to raise to the trustees. One is on my way down here, I couldn't help but notice the barrels on East Broadway where the tree is hanging over the road. Can that tree come down soon before it falls on a car? You know where I'm talking about? I mean, there's at least one tree, the roots are starting to come out, and it's got a really severe angle, and I'm just worried about coming down that road, somebody, you know.
On East Broadway.
Pardon?
On East Broadway?
Yes, where the barrels are. And there's at least one tree that looks like it's in critically close to actually falling. So I just wanted to raise that. And the other reason for being here is to comment on resolution number 6, which is the resolution to approve the proposal submitted by GEI Consultants to do a structural analysis of the existing country club building. Now, as I think we all know, the Citizens Commission on Erosion has been trying to get this, working towards getting this done for a long time. And we certainly would support the study in getting this work done. It's very important moving forward, whatever we do. The one point that I want to make with this resolution, it does seem to indicate a desire and intent to proceed with constructing a wall in accordance with Phase 2 and not examining other options, such as potentially moving the building. But that's an observation. We've been working on this issue. with the
Mr. Knopf,
bluff.
if you don't mind me interrupting, are you here in your capacity as a citizen or as the chair of the Citizens CCE?
My first point was as a citizen. This is I'm just speaking as a chair of the commission. I'm here to support the resolution to go forward with having GEI do the study and making some comments associated with that.
And you
as
aired that-
chair,
Did you air that support to your trustee liaison?
he knows our position on that, yes. We did speak even earlier today, yes. I am, however, disappointed that we didn't know about it until today. And this is a letter that was written in April, and the contract and proposal was submitted in April. And while we talked about it and we knew that it was coming, we didn't know the details of what this work was going to be until today. And, you know, I have other members of the commission are in the room, and I have had correspondence with other members of the commission who said, we really didn't have much time to review this. However, the items that are listed in the proposal do seem consistent with issues that we had requested in the past and to this point. So again, we would support the proposed resolution in its form. And once again, I'd like to renew our request to have timely access to information so that we could provide meaningful input on these types of items. That's what our mission is, to advise and provide recommendations to the commission. It's our mission. And to do that, we need the information in a timely fashion. But as I said, the details are here, and the details seem to be consistent with what we've asked for. Thank you.
Thank you. Suzette? If you want to address the board, yeah.
Suzette Smokler, 22 Loretta Gate. First, for those who've past and present know that I get up here for 3 years now, complaining or indicating the danger for anyone leaving Chuck Court or Loretta Gate and attempting to make a left-hand turn.
I thank those who were involved in cutting down trees to make it more visible to the left, putting up blinking lights so that the speeders can know what they're driving at. It's very dangerous. I almost was hit twice trying to make a left, and so what I've learned from that is only to make a right, which is a little unreasonable if I want to go towards the Mount Sinai area. There wasn't open comment to the police that when they were here, because I'd like to address the police in a suggestion that I made 3 years ago. On the other side of North Country Road, there's a road by the name of Gladys. If a police officer were stationed on Gladys with one of whatever, I'm not a cop, I am sure in a couple of hours they would be able to issue a number of tickets. And since it's my belief that most of the traffic that's coming is relatively local, Mount Sinai, Port Jefferson Station, if the word got out that their speeding would get a summons of some kind, I'm sure it would stop. In the meantime, the blinker, or whatever it was, is no longer there, and not that it's a big loss because it hasn't stopped anybody from speeding, not that I can tell. I would really like a specific request to the police department about my idea that I suggested 3 years ago about a police officer being stationed on Gladys. And I would appreciate any help we could get in making it safer for people to get out of Loretta Gate. Thank you.
Thank you. Barbara.
Barbara Sabatino, 2 Westview Avenue. I'm getting shorter. Last month I had told you about the people in the building department having problems getting phone calls. And earlier this month, it doesn't seem to have gotten better, but I have a short-term, not a solution, but it would help if on the website there was a banner, as we have banners that scroll, that says to reach the building department, call 473-4724, which is downstairs, and that could be, then the people can be routed to the building department. Also, the website needs to be updated with information. I'll give you an example. Steve Gallagher is still listed as the superintendent of the Department of Public Works. So perhaps the phone numbers for building on the website can also be updated if, just temporarily going to the women in the front office downstairs. The other thing I would like to talk about is when I'm not at a public meeting, I do go on YouTube to look at the recording. But I noticed that when it's a meeting of importance where it draws a lot of people in person, when we have chairs moved back and a lot of them say, do not sit here, people aren't welcome to sit there because it blocks the view of the cameras. So I'm wondering if there's a way with an adapter, and I'm not asking for a reply, I'm just questioning if an adapter can be put on these poles where 2 cameras pointed in different directions can sit. And then perhaps we can get more seating here because there are people standing in the back. We really lost space when we started to broadcast on YouTube because of the cameras. So maybe we can get another row in. And one last thing, Bob, when you talk later on, are you going to talk about not branch pickup, but leaf pickup schedules?
I will.
You're the best. It's very frustrating when I type in under search for the website, 2025 leaf pickup schedule, and it brings me to all these places that I can apply to pick up leaves myself. Meaning that doing a contract. And no, that's not what I want. I just want to know when it is. Okay, thank you very much. I'm adjusting the microphone back up.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Okay. We can now close this portion, the public comment portion of our meeting, and I'll open this up for trustee comments, and I'll start to my right with trustee Franco.
Good evening, everyone. We just had a work session meeting where it was suggested that a post I placed on Facebook was inaccurate. And I'd like to make a correction because speaking to Treasurer Gafka, my percentage of the increase to members at the golf course was inaccurate, and I apologize for that. The number I posted was 31%. The actual increase to members was 29.7%. So for purposes of correction, I just want to make that corrective measure so that people know that the actual increase was, for the past 2 years, was 29.7%. The reason why I bring that up is I ran into a friend who's lived in this community, raised his family in this community, has retired in this community. His name is Eddie Anderson. And when I ran into him at the Quickie Mart, he said, I just got done playing golf. I said, oh, how was the course? And he said, no, I don't play at the course anymore. I can't afford it. I went to Middle Island to play. And that resonates with me. He's lived here his whole life. He was a member for 30 years. And we're pricing fixed income residents out of the course. We need to come up with strategies to bring costs down. That's why this is important to me. And I understand there's only 250 residents that are members of the golf course, but it matters to those 250, and we represent everyone here. And as I was doing my research, like looking into this rate increase and the 2-year increase, I came across something. And it was a post. It was not a post. I apologize. It was in the TBR, and there was a vote in 2023 to raise rates, and a freshman, maybe I'm wrong, a trustee at that during the 2023 rate increase voted it down, and said that I don't agree with putting the burden on the membership. That we need to find alternative ways to generate revenue because it's and I could read it. When I was the chair of the CCMAC, I did not agree with raising membership rates because I felt like there was an opportunity to find new revenue without putting the revenue on the backs of members. And I agree with that statement, and I agree with voting down that increase. That's why I did. So, and that was our Mayor Shepro, who voted that down. So I agree that we should not be placing a 16% burden. We need to find alternative means to bring it down. And she went on to proceed in the statement, which was interesting. It's kind of a C-level product. And we're asking our members to come back next year and pay something that they don't have yet. Like she wants to turn it into an A-plus product. If turning it into an A-plus product prices out fixed income residents in this community, well, then that's a problem that we all need to address. So I just wanted to bring that up. And, people like Eddie Anderson, we're going to lose people like that at this course. People have played there their whole life. They're going to find cheaper means to play other places. And I just think that it's something that we need to continue to address. And I'm going to speak with Trustee Ugrinsky at the end during this next week, if she has time, to kind of find alternative means to generate additional revenue and try and bring these costs down because people in the community can't afford it. But again, My apologies for saying 31%. The actual increase was 29.7%. And again, I'll post that on Facebook so that the correction goes out to everybody, whoever's not listening today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Trustee Ugrinsky?
I'll just respond by saying, Trustee Franco, I'm happy to meet with you next week. Let's go through it because I would love to explore additional ways to generate revenue through the golf course. So I'd love to hear ideas that could help that happen. So, yep.
Excellent.
Okay.
Trustee Giuliano?
So Barbara, I apologize. I don't have the leaf. I thought I had it with me, but I don't. I will make sure that that's posted. Right now, they want to make sure, they don't want to confuse the branch pickup with the leaf pickup, but I'll make sure that the leaf pickup information is posted. And David, I'll check on DPW on that tree. Maybe we can have the, I don't want to, the person who we just hired,
Christine?
Christine. Maybe she
Yasso?
can take a look at the tree and see if it's within danger of falling or not. But I'll check with DPW also to have them look at that.
I'd suggest Paul Pensky.
Yeah.
Talk to him about it? Okay. Trustee Hill?
Ms. Smuckler, I'll make sure to forward your request over to Officer Berry, who was here earlier, so you don't have to worry about it. And then just letting folks know, I have to step out of the meeting at 7:45, and I plan to be back shortly. And if I miss any votes, I will submit in writing how I would have voted on that.
Okay. So just to address the strategic planning for the country club, where rates are concerned and future projects are concerned, and also other sources of revenue can be driven. We actually signed a contract on October 9th to bring, I didn't even sign it yet, did I? But this board approved a contract with Kemper Sports, who is a consulting company for course management, and they will be our partner in professionally figuring out how we can maximize our revenue, how we can minimize our expenses, and how we can manage our country club golf course better from the experts. And so before, I know Kemper is going to want to speak with you, Trustee Franco. They're going to want to speak with every single person sitting at this on this board, and they're going to want to speak with members, and they're going to want to speak with residents who are interested in what's going on at the country club and want to see what's next. We're looking at other avenues of revenue through many different ways, but it's premature right now to really call those out until we get this strategic planning report in our hands. And you'll have a chance to influence that. So, and we'll be driving that. And that's going to happen within the next 6 weeks. We should have a report within 6 weeks to 2 months. So can we wait until we figure out how to drive revenue by listening to Kemper? Is that something we could do?
Is that a question for me?
Yeah, you're the
I'm
one-
gonna,
yeah.
I think I'm gonna still meet with Trustee Ugrinsky and start
have
strategizing
no-
early while Kemper, pardon me?
No concerns about
Yeah,
any
so
of that,
while
but
Kemper's going forward,
Yep.
I think we'll work together and see if we can come up with some ideas to present to them also. Being
So-
prepared is always the best way of doing things.
David Knopf, thank you very much for your comments tonight. The reason why there was a delay in the GEI contractual circumstances because we decided that we needed a couple of other estimates for that project because it came in at a number that required additional, that we thought would be justified and responsible to get a couple more estimates on the project. And therefore, that's what took the extra time. Unfortunately, you can't rush engineers. They are who they are, all present company, not accepted. So, but that was a process we thought was important, and our engineering firm, our consulting engineers took a very close look at that, and we worked very closely with them on that. So glad that you, as the chair of the Citizens Commission on Erosion, thought it reflected a good product. So we'll get started on that if this board approves that proposal.
Mayor, if I may, we also worked with GEI, and they worked with us to reduce the price of that proposal, the total. So
Right.
that took a little bit of time.
It took a little time, too.
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
you're welcome.
The barrels on East Broadway and the trees there. So our engineering firm, that's a circumstance that we're looking at as an emergency. Not sure why we haven't taken the trees down. We want to do soil borings in that location because we want to see what's under there. I don't know that we want to disrupt that area right now. That's just my observation. It's not an engineering observation. So, but we've been working with our engineers on trying to get that entire area repaired under an emergency circumstance. So waiting on the approval. Is the soil boring? Do we need to approve that, or is that actually happening?
I believe we're approving that at the next meeting, Mayor. I don't think we're doing that tonight. It's not scheduled.
So we'll look at that tree.
And if I could just add, the reason why the barrels are there is because the wall is,
Very circumspect,
Yeah.
yeah. But that's a big project. It involves the residents who live on the north side of that roadway, and we have to make sure everybody's aware of and involved in the decision-making process. That's exactly the type of thing, David, if you remember, the Citizens Commission on Erosion, I brought that up at your last meeting to see if that you would get involved with that some of these issues that are going on in the village right now as an erosion commission, because these are all erosion issues. So,
Mayor, if I may correct, in a sidebar with the treasurer now, we don't need a resolution because we are within the boundaries of our procurement policy.
let's go.
So we will go,
Okay,
okay?
thank you.
You're welcome.
Barbara Sabatino, thank you again for bringing the phone situation to our attention. We are working on that actively. The clerk's office has been working. Do you want to update on that?
I do, thank you.
Okay.
Barbara, where are you? Okay. Hi. So two things, actually, I'm going to start from the back of your comments, which is the flyer. I know Trustee Giuliano, you've already touched on that. So we are working with our graphic artist to create a flyer that we will be putting out shortly. We generally tend to shy away from putting the two flyers out at the same time because when we've done that in the past, it's created a great deal of confusion. So that'll be up on the website as soon as the graphics are done, but also a little bit after we get more into the first set of pickups. So that's number one. For the phone system, we have our deputy treasurer and our IT consultant working very closely together to resolve that problem. We are looking at a fix. I don't want to speak out of turn, but we're looking at a fix that will take us into this century with our phone system and possibly even cost us less than we're paying now. So we don't want to say anything further until that's done, but that's very much in process, and we thank you for that. Thank you.
And also, Barbara, to your point about Steve Gallagher still being on the website, we're not letting him go. That's all there is to it. But honestly, I'd just like to look at the trustees to see if they could take a look at their respective commissions and liaisonships to make sure that the website is up to date and has the right people in the right places on a regular basis. Maybe when we make changes, we're the ones who make the changes, so maybe we can just ask the clerk to ask our IT folks to make those updates in real time, or just keep a side eye on it if you can, and have that public-facing perspective. And I think, yeah, that's everything from my comment. So now we move into the hefty portion of our meeting. The first is a public hearing. Clerk Perillo, do you want to announce?
I do, Mayor. We actually have 3 public hearings this evening. The first one is a proposed local law amending Chapter 41 of our code, which is ethics. The second is a proposed local law amending Chapter 181 of our code, which is peace and good order. And lastly, we have the continuation of an open public hearing regarding a petition for a change of zone. So with that, we have Attorney Leventhal here for the Chapter 41 discussion, and we will commence that by having a resolution to open the public hearing regarding a proposed local law amending Chapter 41, Ethics, Code of, Section 41-22D, time for filing of the Code of the Village of Port Jefferson to change the time of filing of the annual financial disclosure form from on or before May 15th of each year to on or before August 15th of each year. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Do we have a second?
Second, sorry.
Okay. The public hearing is, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The public hearing is
Aye.
open.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the board. The changes to Chapter 41 is the Code of Ethics, and Section 41-22 is the financial disclosure portion of the code. There's a companion resolution to this change to the local law that would amend the financial disclosure form. As the board is authorized to do by the Code of Ethics, they can do that by resolution. They don't need to do that by local law. But these proposals were all guided by 3 principles. The first is that the privacy of a municipal officer or employee can be thought of as arrayed along a spectrum. And on one end of the spectrum is information that relates directly to the powers and duties of the officer or employee in his or her official capacity. With respect to that information, an individual has little or no privacy interest. The public has a right to know information that relates directly to the official powers and duties of a village officer or employee. On the other end of the spectrum is information that bears no relationship to the powers and duties of the officer or employee. And with respect to that information, the individual has a very high interest in privacy, the same as any member of the public would. So that is the first principle. The second principle is that as we said at the time of its original enactment, the Code of Ethics and the ethics program should be thought of as a work in progress. And it is beneficial and a good practice to periodically review it, take a fresh look at it, and based upon experience, decide how it can be improved. The third principle is that I believe the highest value in drafting should be placed on clarity. So we've aimed at clarity with these proposals as well. Now, with respect to the local law, the local law actually does 2 things. First, it changes the filing deadline so that it will occur after the village's annual organizational meeting, so that new officers and employees who come on board will, within a relatively short period of time, 2 months, I believe it is, after the organizational meeting, they will make their disclosure so that the public will have access to that information about the new officers and employees. The second change is an effort to simplify and make a little bit more rational the list of those persons who are required to file disclosure statements. The original list was developed from work that was done by the Temporary State Commission on Local Government Ethics, and their jurisdiction was all municipalities statewide, with the exception of the city of New York. So all other cities, counties, towns, villages, special districts. But I think with respect to municipalities in New York State, it can be reasonably stated that one size does not fit all. The list of persons required to file and the form itself was not designed for villages in general, as distinguished from other municipalities, and certainly not designed for this village in particular. So the original list, the original law, included a category of persons required to file that were referred to as policymakers. It was a broad category, and a lot of judgment and discretion went into identifying what members of the village's workforce fell into that category. There was a long list of criteria developed by the Temporary State Commission on Local Government Ethics, and it really, I think, experience indicates, didn't work well for the village. So this proposed local law, if adopted, would delete that category, the broad and not particularly clearly defined category of policymaker, and replace it by listing particular titles and particular boards that would be required to file. And they are as follows. The current law requires elected officials, department heads, deputy department heads, and division heads, and village inspectors to file. We have not changed that. That would continue if this proposal is adopted. And then we added the following categories: members of the Zoning Board of Appeals, members of the Planning Board. Land use regulation is a central function of local government, and significant financial interests are affected by land use decisions. In addition to the impact that those decisions have on the character of the community. Members of the Conservation Advisory Council, members of the Country Club Management Advisory Council, and members of the Architectural Review Board. These are bodies that are created pursuant to the village code, and that was the logic that led to their inclusion. And those are the only changes to the existing financial disclosure law that would be made if this proposal were adopted. Now, Mayor, I can pause there, I can answer questions, or I can move on to the proposed changes to the disclosure form itself. That is not a part of the local law. That would be a resolution that this board would, I would ask this board to consider adopting. Shall I jump into that?
Anyone have questions?
I just have one point.
Sure.
We don't have an architectural review board.
Yeah.
It's a committee,
Okay.
so, boards are, yeah.
Sure, that's, we'll
There's a
be
difference,
sure.
I just want to make sure that.
Sure,
there's
we'll
no
be
list as a
sure to
board.
correct that terminology.
Should we be adding the Budget and Finance Committee to this? I mean, is it the designation committee?
No, the
Because
designation,
it's the inclusion in the code, right?
right, the designation of committee doesn't have any particular significance. It's a matter of what the board, what the entity does, and what impact that those activities of the board have on the public and on the village itself. So really, because the village of Port Jefferson has a population of less than 50,000 people, this board has a great deal of discretion in deciding how the financial disclosure program should be designed. So if in the judgment of the board that committee should be added, it certainly can be added. And by the same token, depending upon your view of what some of those other entities do, they can either remain on the list or be deleted. It's within this board's discretion.
So, a question then. So the only rationale for including the Conservation Advisory Council and then the members of the Country Club Management Advisory Council and the Architectural Review Committee is because they're in the code?
Well, that was the starting point. But if you examine what some of those boards do, I heard a fairly lively discussion during the work session on the importance of some of the recommendations that the country club advisory body, I don't have the terminology in front of me, does, and it may be the judgment of this board that the advice it gives is critical to the decision-making of this board, and therefore they should be considered persons who are required to file.
Well, and by the same token, maybe the Board of Governors should be included on that.
Right.
What do we think?
The Board of Governors isn't advising really
They make recommendations.
Yeah. I mean, as we just discussed, they made recommendations as far as the rates.
And Attorney Leventhal, just if I'm sorry, I hope I didn't hear correctly. Did you say the Finance Committee should not be on that, or you said that it should?
No, I would, in order to form an opinion about that, I would want to look at exactly what that committee does.
Okay.
And what the impacts of its decisions and activities are.
Mayor, if I may, it seems in viewing the code amendment that we give deference based on the activity of the committee or board as opposed to its ability to bind the village. If the idea of the financial disclosure is to make sure that people divulge a pecuniary interest in it, something that they might have to vote on at the board level, maybe we should just limit it to those boards that could actually bind the village. This board, the zoning board, the planning board, as opposed to any other board that makes recommendations. Because it also, just, Mr. Leventhal, just let me finish my thought, because a lot of people don't want to fill out a financial disclosure form for a volunteer entity that they don't get paid to participate in. And the last thing we want to do is discourage volunteership. So in the interest of being not arbitrary in what committees this board or future boards may decide to include or not include in a disclosure, maybe we limit it to those that could bind the village.
I would agree with that. So is it possible to strike 6, 7, and 8?
The answer is, it's entirely possible to strike those entities. But I will say this, while I'm not disputing what counsel said, and I'm really not taking a position on who should or should not be included, sometimes a person who influences the decision maker is just as important in the decision-making process as the person who is actually making the decision. And so that's a consideration.
And
Then,
it
based
was-
on that, I would suggest including every committee, whether in the code or not. But it's the arbitrariness of which ones that I personally, as the person who represents this board, and may have to defend it one day when you're not here, is the arbitrariness of which committees or recommendations trump others, because everyone has their own agenda and their own idea what they believe is important. So my advice to this board, my client, would be either include all committees or limit it to those that combine the village, as opposed to cherry picking which ones based on things that already exist in the code because they happen to be there. You know, who knows that another committee at some point, like the Citizens Committee on Erosion, is very important in this period of time in this village because of the project that's happening. So do we include that one now, but in 20 years when the bluff has redid everything it's supposed to do and is no longer an issue, maybe that board becomes less important and something else might take. So that's just my
Well,
2 cents.
Just
I'd just
to-
like to, I'm sorry.
Sorry, if you
Go-
don't mind, just for
I
one
don't
second.
mind.
It's to both of you. So we just had a discussion during the work session how instrumental the Board of Governors were in working to get the lease agreement for the golf carts at the golf course, if I'm correct, if I'm remembering that correctly. So they are involved intimately with that. So I would say that, yes, they should be disclosed, because they're actually, and I don't know if you agree with that, Trustee Ugrinsky, but that's what so my question is, if they're doing that, if they're going over and above helping negotiate terms, I think that they should certainly be under that same disclosure.
Right, and I also think that an all or nothing at all approach to committees and entities is less rational than cherry picking, which I think is this board's job to do. I think there is judgment and discretion involved in the decision of who are making decisions that affect the public, who are making decisions that affect the village and influence village decision making, and including those people as it's done statewide by municipalities in their ethics programs.
So if we look at 2D on page 3, there's an opportunity for flexibility on an annual basis, but let's also remember that every year we have ethics training, right? And ethics training covers off on a lot of the potential for ethics confusion, and sets the tone for what actually the ethics code is all about and why we have it and how to utilize it and why it's in place. So that to me would, I'm tending to lean into the statutory binding recommendation, and to just emphasize the fact that this ethics training should cover off on the other non-statutory, non-binding bodies. That's my reaction initially, because we're the binding body. So, and we have the ability to follow procurement law, guidelines, and law, and policy.
Well, when you say binding body, there are also the quasi-judicial boards like the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Correct.
That make binding determinations.
Correct.
Right.
Yep, that's my point. The planning board, and by the way, the ethics board. Does the ethics board file?
Yes.
They have to go through ethics training?
Yes, yes.
They
do.
are the ethics training entity, are they not?
They are.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
So have we decided to eliminate 6,
7, and 8?
6, 7, and 8? And then with Trustee Giuliano's permission, I won't change the name of the Architectural Review Committee because we are striking it. Okay.
And then we would add in the ethics board, right? Because their decisions are also
Binding.
end of the line, yeah.
Sure.
If
Yep.
I may, the mayor also just referenced page 3, letter D, and that should read, "and no later than August 15th, not July."
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I just want to be clear that the function of D on page 3 is not to decide who should file differently than set forth in the list on page 1, is to identify the people who are in those categories
Okay.
that have been required to file.
Okay.
We're eliminating the policymaker category, which is sort of a catch-all category. Okay, so if there are no further questions or comments on that one, and
I have
is
one
this,
question.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Page 3, 2C. Time for filing. Reporting person shall file financial disclosure with the Board of Ethics on or before May 15th. Isn't that what we're changing?
Yes.
Yes, yes, you are right.
That should also be August 15th? Just like the other one, or
No, actually.
am I reading that right, or?
Actually, it's different, 2 different deadlines. The first deadline is the date by which the list of people required to file is submitted to the Board of Ethics. The second date is the date on which the persons who are required to file are required to do so.
Okay, so May 15th is correct.
No, it has to be probably 6 weeks after August 15th, right?
I think we did 2 months.
2 months?
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
So what's the date?
So it would be August and October. Okay.
Okay.
Now to the form. There are two basic changes, or two categories of changes that were made to the financial disclosure form. The first is that we eliminated topics. We eliminated categories of information that we thought were not relevant for this village and its workforce. And the second thing we did was try to simplify and clarify the language of the form. So I'm going to address those changes in that order. First, the items that were eliminated. We eliminated the disclosure of categories of amount. The logic behind that is either there's a conflict of interest or there isn't. It doesn't matter what the amount is. If it's a conflict of $100 or $10,000, it's a prohibited conflict. We are not interested in knowing how wealthy an officer or employee of the village is. We are interested only in knowing whether they have a conflict of interest. So we eliminated the categories of amount. Then we eliminated the question about about income from past employment, except for the portion that the village attorney noted at the last discussion should be included, and that is government program retirement income. That we still require a disclosure about, and the questions there specifically are twofold. First, are you retired from previous government employment and receiving a pension from either the New York State and local employees retirement system or the New York State and local police and fire retirement system? Yes or no? And the second question is, if you answered yes to the previous question, are you age 65 or older? So that should, I believe, satisfy council's recommendation that that information be collected to determine whether somebody is improperly collecting a salary and a pension, a government pension. Next, we eliminated a confusing and really irrelevant question about trusts and beneficial interests. We eliminated a question about third-party reimbursements. If you're actually being reimbursed for an expenditure that you incurred, then it's unlikely to give rise to a conflict of interest. We eliminated the question about political parties. Political parties are very important in certain types of municipalities, but not so important in a village. And that's it. So in addition to eliminating the disclosure of that information, we drastically simplified the form itself. The questions were asked in kind of densely packed narrative paragraphs. Instead, now it's mostly in bullet points and terms that are more user-friendly. And that's it. Those are the changes. And I think that the village workforce would welcome these changes, and I think that it would still serve the public purpose of providing meaningful disclosure that allows the public to check on the existence of conflicts of interest. Really, financial disclosure serves two purposes, and I'll say this real quick and then I'm done, because I see you have a busy agenda tonight. the two purposes served by financial disclosure are, first, to check on transactional disclosure. When a person has a conflict of interest and they recuse themselves, they're required to disclose the existence of the conflict. So that is the first purpose. The second purpose is to guide honest village officers and employees to help them recognize on at least an annual basis of where their conflicts might lie. And so the questions are tailored to provide that guidance as well. And that's it. If there are no questions, thank you.
Thank you. I'll just note also that many of the questions have been really, and you can confirm this if I'm accurately stating it, is that many of the questions have really become more centrally with central interest in activity in the village
Yes,
versus the world.
we've tried to make it more relevant.
Mhm.
Right.
Thank you.
I personally applaud that change. Thank you.
Procedurally, where are we?
I would suggest they close the public hearing, a resolution to adopt the code, the changes to the code as amended, and then I would take the resolution to approve the form out of process in case the board has any questions for Mr. Leventhal.
Should we invite public comment? Do we have, okay, first? All right.
Oh, yeah, and that.
I was testing you. All right. Would any members of the public like to comment on this code change public hearing? Okay. So
with that, Mayor, we have a resolution to close the public comment portion of the public hearing regarding a proposed local law amending Chapter 41 Ethics Code of Section 4122D, time for filing of the Code of the Village of Port Jefferson to change the time of filing of the annual financial disclosure form from on or before May 15th of each year to on or before August 15th of each year. May I have a motion?
Motion?
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Lastly, we have a resolution adopting the proposed local law as attached and amended, amending Chapter 41, Ethics Code of, Section 4122D, time for filing of the Code of the Village of Port Jefferson to change the time of filing of the annual financial disclosure form from on or before May 15th of each year to on or before August 15th of each year. May I have a motion?
Motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay. And do you want to take that resolution now? Okay. So with that, Mayor, per the attorney's suggestion, we are going out of process, going to our action items agenda, and we are voting now on resolution number 8102225, which is a resolution approving the attached amended annual statement of financial disclosure contained in Chapter 41, Ethics Code of the Village of Port Jefferson. May I have that motion?
Motion?
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Next, Mayor, we have public hearing number 2. Resolution to open the public hearing regarding a proposed local law amending Chapter 181, Peace and Good Order, Article 2, Sections 6, Disorderly Acts Enumerated, L and 6M, and Chapter 181, Peace and Good Order, Article 4, Bicycles, Section 13, Reckless Operation of Bicycles, and Section 14, Impounding. The purposes of the proposed local law are to add beaches, piers, and village-owned parkland to 181.6L, to add sidewalk to 181.6M, to add bicycle, unicycle, electric bicycle, or scooter to 181.13, and to rename Section 181.14 to penalties for offenses, and create 181-14A impounding, and to create 181-14B additional fines. May I have a motion to open that, please?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay.
Mayor, this is a product of the previous code amendment done in September referencing changes to the disorderly conduct code. Mayor, you had suggested at the time that that public hearing was coming forth, that we also look to add electric bikes and other things to help the Suffolk County Police and our code better enforce these items that, although fit in descriptions, aren't specifically enumerated, like electric bicycles and electric scooters. And at that time, in order to add it, we would have had to re-notify that public hearing, but because of the gravamen of those issues and the loitering within our public spaces, we moved forward with that, knowing this change would come. And that is the purpose of these changes, is to clarify village properties where, and add additional forms of mechanicalized and transportation like e-bikes. So a defense to those charges isn't what's enumerated in your code. In a nutshell, that's where we're at with this.
Anyone from this board have questions?
I just want to make sure it's clear that this still means that the roads are still shared roads for bicycles, unicycles, electric bikes, and scooters, correct?
Absolutely.
Would you say that it's when they're being operated in a manner that is consistent with bicycle safety and sharing of those roads?
I would also say yes.
So are we eliminating smoking on sidewalks? In point M?
We added sidewalk to that village property, yes.
So it would be illegal to smoke on sidewalks?
It is, but this makes that
Clearer.
very clear. So there is a legislation running through the Suffolk County Legislature in the coming weeks. And does this, in your opinion, have you seen that legislation?
I have, Mayor, because you thankfully sent it to me, and I do appreciate it. If in fact, when that does pass, if it does pass, and any thing in this code that would need to be addressed to either add or conform or help, we could certainly do again, but I think it's important just that we do what we can do in the timeframes to which we can do it, because it's very simple for us to change it as we go, as opposed to wait for possible changes from another entity.
Sure. Is there any benefit to indicating in our code, as it's written, that it comports with any current or future adjustments to the Suffolk County?
Again,
Enforcement?
the intent of a village this small might not be in coordination with what a county as large as Suffolk might do or might regulate. So I would warn against doing that, and add what needs to be added to support the needs of this community as opposed to the county as a whole, because of obvious reasons, size and other things.
Okay. Any other questions from this board?
Nope.
Any questions from the public, comments? Hearing none. We ready to close the public hearing?
Yes, Mayor.
Okay.
With a resolution to close the public comment portion of the public hearing regarding a proposed local law amending Chapter 181, Peace and Good Order, Article 2, Section 6, Disorderly Acts enumerated, L and 6M, and Chapter 181, Peace and Good Order, Article 4, Bicycles, Section 13, Reckless Operation of Bicycles, and Section 14, Impounding. The purposes of the proposed local law are to add beaches, piers, and village-owned parkland to 181.6L, to add sidewalk to 181.6M, to add bicycle, unicycle, electric bicycle, or scooter to 181.13, and to rename Section 181.14 to penalties for offenses, and create 181-14A impounding, and to create 181-14B additional fines. May I have that motion?
Motion.
Before the board votes on that motion, I want to make it crystal clear that we decided not to rename the impounding section to penalties or add a B. Those penalties are adequately addressed in Chapter 1 of our code, which we are addressing globally. Although it was listed that way because that we wanted to cover all bases, it was decided not to do that. So I just want to make sure that the motion is clear, that although advertised that way, we did it that way purposely so we didn't have to go back and do it later if in fact we decided to make those changes. And at this time, I don't believe those changes make plausible sense.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
At this time, then, we have a resolution adopting the proposed local laws attached, amending Chapter 181, Peace and Good Order, Article 2, Section 6, Disorderly Acts enumerated L and 6M, and Chapter 181, Peace and Good Order, Article 4, Bicycles, Section 13, Reckless Operation of Bicycles, and Section 14, Impounding. The purposes of the proposed local law are to add beaches, piers, and village-owned parkland to 181.6L, to add sidewalk to 181.6M, to add bicycle, unicycle, electric bicycle, or scooter to 181.13. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Next, Mayor, we have the continuation of an open public hearing. And that public hearing is regarding a petition for a change of zoning classification from professional office, PO district, to moderate density residence, RM district, submitted by Beechwood Port Jefferson LLC for the property located at 450 Myrtle Avenue, Port Jefferson, New York, 11777, and known as Suffolk County Tax Map Number 0206, 01300, 0100, 00801, and 009001. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion
Aye.
carries.
Mayor, before we turn the floor over to the applicant, I just want to, for procedurally, what has taken place since our last meeting. The email was sent from the village clerk to all the trustees to try and get questions in advance, so council and the team could be prepared to address any immediate issues. I believe we received comments from trustee Giuliano as well as yourself, Mayor. So if things are being addressed that you haven't heard before, it's probably part of the comments received from trustees or the mayor, which Mr. Rosenberg, I'm sure, will make part of his presentation in an effort to move the process along and not him get, not blindsided, but hearing questions for the first time that we would need to adjourn to address.
Okay.
Can you start?
Yeah.
Mayor
sure.
Shepro, trustees, I'm Richard Rosenberg. Good evening. And I'm going to try to give bullet points and answer questions that we either committed to get back to you on the September 24th hearing, or alternatively, at our meeting with council, he gave us a list of questions to address. With me today, as is the hearing, is I have Terry Elkowitz, an environmental consultant. I have Kevin Walsh, a PE. I have Pat Lenahan, who's a traffic engineer, but now he goes by mobility expert, I believe. And Michael Dubb, the principal, is here with me, along with Christine Flaherty, who's the senior vice president of Catholic Health Services, and Jim O'Connor, the president of St. Charles. We all remain available to answer any questions anybody on the board has. Let's go to Exhibit 13. The first issue raised was emergency access. And Trustee Giuliano, you had asked if there's a way of doing it. The answer is yes. This shows a proposed entryway of the emergency access. Now, this emergency access is not going to be open on Belterre Road, for everyday traffic. It's for emergency vehicles. Below the roadway is going to be grasscrete, which is structural, so that in the event an ambulance or fire department engine or another emergency vehicle is required to go, it will be able to go onto Belterre or go from Belterre into the site without falling through. Let's go to the site plan exhibit, Rob. This is an amended site plan. It does show on the bottom right-hand corner where the emergency access is. As we discussed at the initial hearing, there were numerous variances, 7 in total, that were presented. After discussions with the board, after discussions with the planning board, we had also met with council last week, and we went to our engineer and said, revise the site plan. This is not a final site plan, this is conceptual. But the purpose here is to show a number of things. Number one, there was variance required about number of units in a building. No longer required, we've modified that. Number two was lot coverage ratio. It was 20%. We are below 20%. Number three is the number of buildings, which is not changing, but the entranceway here could possibly change down the road. The variance that we had trouble with was the distance between buildings. By code, it was 52.50. We proposed 25. In my letter to you dated October 8th with enclosures, what we did was we examined every multifamily development within the village. None had distance between buildings of 52 feet. The majority were 27 feet. The highest was 42 feet. And what we've proposed here is increasing the distance between buildings to 35 feet. The last site plan related change that we've made is we've reduced the size of the clubhouse, and instead of a single level of 1,800 square foot, we now have two levels of 900 square foot. The variances we're requesting again are the setback from the original, which is a non-conforming use, as I explained. It's 10533 with a pre-existing condition, code required 200. This existed from Maryhaven from 1920. So I just want to point it out that it's a pre-existing condition. The minimum setbacks along Belterre and Myrtle Avenue are required to be 75 feet, and they're 55.8 feet. I want to point a couple of things out. The first is on the southwesterly side of the property, and I'll just give you an idea, that entire area is being saved. So what we've basically done is, although the village doesn't have a cluster ordinance, we've clustered the units. And the end result was we were able to save the property along Belterre, the open space property there, as well as the open space property and the natural property along Myrtle Avenue. Now, I just want to call into one attention, the emergency access. There are going to be required to be trees removed. There is going to be some grading required. If the board chooses for the emergency access, we're prepared to do it. If not, we would not have to take down those trees, but I would just tell the board that by not taking down those trees, what we would be doing is essentially following suit with the prior Maryhaven development, as well as the two rental department buildings east of us, as well as Canyon Creek south of us. The point being, they only had one means of ingress and egress. Up front, by the gatehouse, it's wide. There's enough for engines to go in and out. There will be nothing above those entryways So a fire engine could go both ways, as could all emergency vehicles. Let's go to 14. We spoke about sidewalks. Once again, along Belterre, there aren't sidewalks on the westerly side. Along Myrtle, there aren't on either side. We're prepared to put in the sidewalks, but again, we would be taking down some trees and some grading, especially along Myrtle due to the topography. However, where my pointer is going, they presently does not have sidewalks, so what we can do is connect that sidewalk from the school going towards the Belterre and Myrtle intersection, going along the emergency access. And then our internal sidewalks are going to have a crosswalk to hook it up. So essentially the whole area would become walkable, but again, we look to the board for a decision on that. We can do either way. Drainage, very important to the village. Maybe we weren't clear. I want to be 100% clear. The drainage system will handle 100-year storm with no off-site discharge, meaning all discharge stays on the property, and the storm water would stay within the property boundaries. All leaders and gutters will tie into that system. One of the questions that we had, I believe, from the public was, how do we know it's going to work? Kevin Walsh, at the initial hearing, discussed the infiltration tests, which are tests required to confirm the current design works. So we design it. It should be 9 inches, 24 hours. If the filtration tests come back, more drainage will be added. There is more drainage than is required. The 100-year storm is taken care of. One of the other parts that people were concerned about is who's going to maintain it. As I explained, everything within our community is self-contained. The roadways, the clubhouse, the garbage, the lights, everything is going to be maintained by the condominium association. Therefore, should the board wish, and we're very happy to do so, we indicated that we would do a covenant restricting it, the development, if approved, to just for sale, and also no IDA financing and no apartment building. We would add in that storm water must be kept on site. It's been planned, but it's going to be maintained by the developer until 100% sold out, then the condo. If somebody from the community calls and says there's an issue, it's the condominium association's responsibility. It will be set forth in the offering plan, and it will be set forth in the budget also. So as far as catch basins being cleaned, things like that, no village services, the condominium takes care of itself. There's been a lot of talk about the historical building. I certainly respect the Historical Society's work, as I do the ARC, does my client. The existing building, as we've shown, is in a disrepair state. The existing building that we've shown really does not satisfy the requirements of landmark, meaning that it does not satisfy the criteria. I've submitted a letter from architect Jeffrey Gibbons. Mr. Gibbons gave me an initial letter on the 20th. After meeting with attorney and reading in the paper and also getting comments from the public, I forwarded every piece of information to Mr. Gibbons and said, this is what the Historical Society is saying. Mr. Gibbons' opinion hasn't changed, and I'll quote, based upon the standards applied by the National Register, the State Historic Preservation Office, and Village of Port Jefferson, the Maryhaven main building does not qualify as a landmark. Can we go back to the entryway? The ARC suggested that the existing front be maintained. Rob, I want, give me number 12, yes. This is the existing masonry. Michael Dubb has inspected it. We can move it if by chance it gets broken during movement, we will replace it. In addition, it's been suggested that there should be some type of identification of the work that was done on the property. We're happy on the public section inside to have some type of plaque and notice of what the good work has gone on over the years. A lot of the comments from the public spoke about precedent. If you approve this project, it's all coming back. There are going to be numerous applications seeking a change of zone from PO to RM. The village is a legislative body. They're vested with the discretion to amend its zoning ordinance. The rezoning or changing of a zone for a parcel of land is a legislative act. The board is not bound by prior decisions, and there is no administrative consistency as far as pride, meaning there's no precedent because it's a legislative act. The board is sitting, and the courts defer to the board's decision. One of the comments was the process is moving too fast. We've been involved with this process since 2022. We've been in contract since late 2021. We've been through different administrations. We've been through different opinions on the property. We've had numerous meetings between ourselves, Port Jefferson Civic, the Homeowners Association, Canyon Creek, the Village Planning Department, and various other stakeholders. The petition for the application was originally submitted in January 16, 2025. This is after more than 6 to 8 months of discussions with special counsel and planning director. Our petition was modified on request on March 19th. Section 250-53H of the Village Code provides that the Board of Trustees act to approve or deny any rezoning with 6 months on the receipt of an application. At the last meeting, a request for extension was made. The applicant said yes. My point is, the code provides for the period of time. It's 6 months. It can be extended upon request and consent, but I just wanted to be very clear there. Economic benefit. The development will generate economic output of approximately $52 million during construction and $9,600,000 economic annually thereafter. Trustee Grinsky, you had asked for the report. The report was submitted with my October 8th there. Any questions we're happy to answer. Traffic. Mayor, at the hearing, you raised a couple issues, as did Trustee Giuliano. The timing of the traffic counts and how they relate to the time of activity of the area of hospitals and schools. Trustee Giuliano basically noted, as our traffic consultant verified, that this traffic signal is unusual in its operation. So what we did was we had our traffic consultant do new traffic counts. The traffic counts really don't change, but in case if they were stale, we asked our engineers to basically do 3 months worth of work in 2 weeks, and they did. The traffic report is attached to my October 8th, and my traffic consultant, Pat Lenahan, is here, but I want to just give 2 points from his report, and if the board has questions, we're happy to answer. Pat states in his letter, the results of the new data and the additional analysis are in line with those presented in the traffic informational study. It indicates the proposed development will not result in any significant negative impacts to conditions, and no mitigation is warranted at the Belterre and Myrtle Avenue intersection. That's the official opinion. Trustee Giuliano, you asked and say, okay, can anything be done? Pat came up with 2 suggestions. Now, mind you, the mitigation is not required, but this, he believes, will make the intersection better. And I'm going to read this just to make sure that I don't mistake, but Mr. Lenahan can certainly come up and answer any of your questions if you do. The eastbound approach of Myrtle Avenue would be restriped to a separate left turn lane and a through right turn lane, which would allow a change in the signal phasing that allows eastbound and westbound left turn arrows to run at the same time. Now, I gave you the report and I set forth in it, it's a gobbledygook to me, that's why I hire an engineer, and he will explain it in full should you want. In addition, he feels this will reduce motorist confusion and result in better levels of traffic service and a more balanced operation. In the northbound direction, he also basically provides that a relatively short leading northbound phase with northbound left turn can be added. Once again, the traffic, the level of service is fine. No mitigation is required. This makes it better. Should this application approved, the applicant is prepared to make these improvements. A couple of miscellaneous issues brought up. Either the public or some of the board doesn't like the name Country Point. Spoke to Mr. Dubb. We came up with 12 different names. If nothing there fits your fancy, give us a direction and we'll do it. The only thing we'd ask is that Catholic Health wants to have final approval to make sure it doesn't have any impact or what have you with their building. Some people didn't like the elevations. Let's go to Exhibit 17, Rob. The idea was, this is a luxury community in Port Jeff Village. It should look more like Port Jeff Village. That is subject to interpretation. So what we did was, we took little snippets of other developments that we've done, mostly in the Latch in Southampton. Mr. Dubb will meet with the relevant people and we'll meet with the Architectural Review Committee, get their input, but that should not be an issue. We're happy to make that happen. There was a question of what happens if Beechwood decides not to build. This one, as an attorney, I have a bit of an issue for because my client gets financing and there can't be restrictions from the lender should my client default. Now, I will tell you, in 40 years, my client has never defaulted. This is a purely legal scenario. But what we can do is covenant that we will not sell unless, and I explained it to you at the initial hearing, we are pretty much a family-owned company. Michael Dubb and Stephen Dubb retain the majority interest. When I spoke to Michael Dubb and I said, we're making the representations, we're going to build it, the village wants protection. He said, look, the only way I'm going to sell it is something happens to me and my son. I don't know how to put that in a covenant, but I could work with counsel on that. So whatever we've promised, we're going to deliver. Workforce housing. We are going to comply with the Long Island Workforce Housing Act. I want to be very clear about that. Now, the Workforce Housing Act allows a few things. It gets a little complicated. The first is 10% is affordable, but you get a 10% density bonus, meaning that if I'm before you for 75 units, I get a density bonus of 7. I don't know that the village wants that. It seems very clear that we have tried very hard to reduce the size of the unit and the volume of the development. However, there are different alternatives. You can pay money to a fund. You can build less than that which was approved. And then Long Island Workforce Housing Act does not come into play. But we're not looking for a free pass here. We spoke with council about an intensification fee. We personally disagree, and myself and Terry had spoken about the planning board's directive that, or opinion that it's an over-intensification of use. We don't believe so because prior to this building, the building was used for 410 occupants, traffic, sewer, water, everything is less than the 79 units. In addition, if we were to develop under the PO district, there would be more landscaping in our development and less pavement in the development. The only change would be in sewer, and we're into a public sewer capacity. We are hooked up already. We are members of the sewer district. Sewer is taken care of. There's more than enough capability. Now, I referred to the town of Brookhaven. I was guided that they do have an intensification fee. I reviewed it. Unfortunately, the fee does not cover multifamily. However, we can work with council to come up with something that we believe is fair, that works for you, that works for us. I believe I hit every issue and question that we've had. I do have our consultants here who remain available to answer your questions. Mr. Dubb is here as well. In addition, we have Christine Flaherty from Catholic Health that would like to make a statement that I'm going to ask her to come up to. And I think the president of Catholic Health might want to speak. I haven't spoken to him today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rich. Good evening, Board of Trustees. It's nice to be here this evening. As System Senior Vice President of Real Estate Development and Facilities, I have the responsibility for supporting capital work across all 6 of our hospitals in Nassau and Suffolk counties, as well as 3 nursing homes and multiple ambulatory clinic locations. Currently, there's a large number of modernization needs at Catholic Health's hospitals that directly impact our mission of providing the highest quality, advanced patient care to our patients. The capital investments required to support all these needs, they range from upgrading essential infrastructure that support patient areas. This includes chillers, boilers, roofs, facades, to modernizing critical clinical areas, including emergency departments, operating rooms, infusion areas, and patient rooms. In addition, we must invest in our digital technology, cybersecurity risks, which happen constantly, and major medical equipment upgrades and replacements to ensure our patients receive the safest, most advanced care possible. The reason I'm outlining these areas of need is just to make clear that every dollar we invest closely, we need to tie it to our patient care environments. Resources spent securing and rewarding a vacant property are resources diverted from investments that directly enhance patient environments and experiences. Given our current fiscal system-wide position, we've already had to reprioritize, pause, and defer a number of capital projects. These decisions are not easy. They reflect our responsibility to use our resources in the way that best supports the delivery of care to our communities. Another key part of my fiduciary responsibilities to Catholic Health is leading real estate transactions and overseeing and optimizing the realignment of our real estate portfolio. I work with commercial landlords and lease spaces needed to provide ambulatory care environments and healthcare services in the communities that we serve. At the same time, we continuously assess our owned properties, including vacant land and buildings, to ensure they best optimize and support our space needs. I double-sided it because I care about paper and trees. For these properties leased or owned by Catholic Health, that costs our system dollars to maintain without advancing our core mission. We work to thoughtfully divest them towards uses that better serve a community and the regional needs that align with our core values. The Maryhaven property located at 450 Myrtle in Port Jefferson Village was offered to a select group of developers in July 17th of 2021, and it was awarded to Beechwood on October 29th of 2021. Following multiple redesigns to incorporate feedback as appropriate from valuable community stakeholders, 2 administrations, and most recently this board, the anticipated value and timing of this divestiture have been already greatly reduced and delayed. As a result, we returned to our Catholic Health Board of Directors and corporate members for updated governance approvals in May and June of 2024, with the expectation of the completion of this transaction in 2025. We are gravely concerned about the fiscal strain of not moving this project forward to the next stage of village review this year and the impact the delay could have on St. Charles Hospital's ability to maintain and provide needed services. If this project is not allowed to move forward, there's a significant risk that patient services will be impacted. We are also deeply value the rich history of St. Charles campus. I'm reading the book right now. I think it's just so precious, and I've always loved our story. Many of our historic buildings have been preserved and repurposed within the campus. And Jim has done an amazing job with many photos throughout our walls of our campus. We maintain it to the best of our abilities with the limited resources we have. We welcome any of the trustees and all community stakeholders who have an interest to tour our campus, because we'd love to take you through the buildings and the different areas. There's very many special areas, including probably the oldest engine of an elevator I've ever seen in my entire career. Many of these buildings are featured in our History of St. Charles publication. If you haven't read the book, we're happy to share it with the Board of Trustee members, because it really tells of many stories of many different locations that are incredibly, have a deep history with our Daughters of Wisdom. Like many aging facilities, these buildings have significant capital upgrade needs that must be carefully prioritized based on our limited available funds. St. Charles has proudly and faithfully served the community for over 100 years. We trust that the village will consider the merits of this project on a timely basis and move the project forward so that its mission can continue. Finally, side note, we have continued to work collaboratively with the Port Jefferson Fire District regarding the Crayon building site, and their consultant is scheduled to survey this parcel later this year. I'm here for any questions you may have. Thank you.
Good evening. And I just want to, I promise I'll make this quick because the hour is growing late. As the president of St. Charles Hospital, my goal is obviously to provide the best care to this community. That, as I shared with you the last time, is becoming increasingly difficult because of reimbursement issues, because of shifts from inpatient to outpatient, and a whole litany of capital needs that you don't need to know about. However, I do need this project to move forward. I need it for St. Charles. And the Port Jeff community needs it so that we can continue to be, and I will say this proudly, the best healthcare provider in the Port Jefferson area. So I ask you to seriously consider moving it ahead. The other thing that I shared the last time I was here, and I continue to worry, is the fact that vacant property leads to a lot of misadventures, leads to a lot of issues with that building. We still have kids roaming in and out. There's still stuff on social media. My security guards spend every day moving people off the property who break in through the plywood that we put up on the doors and the windows. And my concern is, I've repeated it in many public areas, and if God forbid somebody gets hurt or even worse, killed, that's going to be a very hard thing for, I think, all of us. So I'm asking you, as the president of the hospital, as a good partner in the Port Jeff community, to please see if we can move this ahead as quickly as possible. So thank you for that.
Mayor, as indicated, we're here to answer any questions. I just want to make one thing pretty clear. That is the latest site plan, but it's conceptual. We will be going before the planning board for site plan approval. But what we wanted to do was, number one, reduce the variance. We reduced the number of units. We reduced the number of buildings. It's a good plan, and I think with your input and the Architectural Review Committee, we can really pinpoint what Port Jeff statement you want for this unit. One other last point is, it's been suggested to us that as far as the existing building, could we use the roofing? Could we use some of the trim? We are prepared to do so, but the question is, Port Jeff style or Spanish? So we can do something perhaps in the clubhouse at the beginning, or perhaps at the gatehouse up front. We remain to answer any of your questions. Typically, we have interaction with council as well as the planning director after the hearings close. That will maintain. We do have a reputation of working with the municipalities. That will totally remain. And I think at the end of the day, this will be a benefit to all and something we all would be proud of. I defer to any questions. My professional team is available. And just one last point, my professional team does municipal work. They represent, whether it's town boards for comprehensive plans or villages, they represent engineers, engineering plans, they do traffic mitigation. My point is, I went local for professionals that gave us a professional opinion. We do not tell them what to say. They tell us the science, and we make it work. And we've worked with VHB for years, and it's been a very, very good relationship. And Mayor, respectfully, the plan before you was done by my engineer in 3 days. So once in a while, they can expedite for us all. If you have any questions, we remain. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from the board?
So if I can ask a question, you touched upon setting a precedent. Do you also like to, comments have come from the public about that this is spot zoning. Would that be the same,
The point on
difference
spot
between-
zoning is people use it as a buzzword. Spot zoning is not illegal per se. Spot zoning is illegal when it doesn't follow the comp plan. And this case law that says if it's in compliance with the comp plan, there's no spot zoning. So Ms. Elkowitz, who is pretty much the foremost environmental planner, reviewed the comp plan and came to that conclusion, as did the planning board. So on its outset, as far as spot zoning is, that is not a legally relevant argument based upon the case law. The other part I just want to point in is spot zoning is typically for a small parcel of land. It's also for a parcel of land that is different in use, not zoning, but use than what you intend. Here we have 10 acres. 10 acres in an 8,000 person village. It's not considered a small parcel in this village. The other part is, as far as the surrounding area, I think we've shown you that across the street is the Fairfield and Maple Crest. South of us is Canyon Creek. Further south is Terraces. It doesn't fall within spot zoning. It's just a buzzword that people have used. Anybody else?
I have an idea.
Okay.
Yeah. No, thank you for putting those ideas together on paper. It gives us some options, and also the look at.
I don't take
the
any
new
credit for
elevation.
that. Was Mr. Dove and our marketing
I'm
department.
sure it was, yeah.
I would call it Rosenberg Estates, but I don't think you guys would like that.
Notwithstanding the circumstance that anything should happen to the Dubs family, right? Just the covenant that you referenced about them not selling. Is there an option that any sale, notwithstanding anything nothing should happen, but the sale would be subject to approval of this board?
We could. Typically the covenants of that type are somewhat difficult because of lending institutions and what have you. We wanted to give comfort. I've been before this board in this village for 2 years now. I gave my reputation, as did Mr. Dove, as far as our word is our bond. So we don't have, that is no problem. We're happy to do so. I will tell you that it is very, very unique and unusual to agree to it, but we stand behind what we say. So this is an unusual circumstance, and we're prepared to comply with that.
I can further address that if you want.
Sure, come on.
Michael Dubb, Beechwood Organization Principal. We don't typically, well, not even typically, we don't sell land, we buy land. And if you're building on Long Island, land is not easy to come by. It's a rare commodity to be able to develop in an area that's
substantially developed, and most of what I do is redevelopment of sites that have outlived their usefulness. So I don't, as Rich said, we have to get financing. Attorneys for the bank will review our approvals. They'll see a covenant in there. They may or may not be troubled by it, but I'm sure we can figure something out. I just wanted to address a few other things, not in legal terms, but in layman terms, from the developer to the community. There are a lot of things we'd be happy to do if you guys want that Mr. Rosenberg touched on. We talked about the potential emergency access from Belterre Road. We've looked at it, and depending on the positioning of it, I may have to take down. There's, I guess, how do you define a tree? Is it something that's 40 feet tall or 15 feet tall? Where you're into brush. I've identified an area where I think I would have to take down maybe one partially dead tree. The trees are not all in good condition. Forget what the invasive species is that's hitting trees. The lantern, yeah.
The tree of heaven.
Yeah, well, they have them.
Yeah.
There's a give for each thing, and in this case, if you want the emergency access, I don't think we're giving up much by taking down a couple of diseased trees for what you're getting. On the issue of sidewalks, on Belterre, there's sidewalks on the other side of the street, so I think you're in good shape. I leave it up to you. On the issue of sidewalks of Myrtle, I've walked Myrtle, and it would be challenging to put sidewalks on Myrtle, but doable. And I say that because you have a pretty steep slope, and then you're going to cut into the slope to put a sidewalk. You may need a few walls of, we call a masonry block, to hold the hill in, and you may lose a few trees. And again, I leave it to you. What price? Safety for people to be on sidewalks on Myrtle. And I do drive Myrtle, and I even see the high school teams running up and down Myrtle. So I happen to think it's a good idea to put sidewalks on Myrtle, even with the challenge and the expense it will cost me. But and I'm not being casual with trees. Nobody loves them more than me. I come from a landscape background. Even at the expense of sacrificing a tree or two to get it done. So there are things we want to do. I just wanted to clarify with you, Rich. The maps we were looking at previously were how many units?
79.
And how many is this?
76.
So we've decreased the unit count by 3 units here. I think that was really, I guess, the main things I wanted to address more in layman's terms than anything else. And as Rich alluded to, 2 things: the name. Have a contest. Be my guest. Let's just make it work. As for the facade, our interests are really aligned. I need a Port Jefferson facade, so I don't think that will be an issue. And I don't mind, you guys having input into a facade for the unit. I've built over 80 communities on Long Island. I never left a community worse for wear or affected the housing values around it. If anything, we brought it up. So I think our interests are aligned on the facade topic. And I think that's all I wanted to add to what my esteemed counsel had to say. Are there any questions you want to ask me? Okay. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Mayor, I believe we answered all the questions. We'll continue to work with Planning Director as well as Council. Input is appreciated. As I indicated, I read all of the letters. I know the issues. I can deal with all of the issues. We would respectfully look to move this forward and ask that that the hearing be closed, but a decision reserved that gives us time to talk and what have you. But we have now presented everything that we can, and I believe we've answered everybody's questions, and we will continue to do so. I thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Procedurally, Mayor, I would agree with council that, if the presentation is complete and currently the trustee questions have been addressed, that proper procedure would be to close the hearing, place it on a village decision calendar with an unspecified date, for council to then finalize whatever needs to be finalized procedurally with our planning department, as well give this board time to digest the presentation, and myself as counsel to the board act as a go-between between any questions the board might have and counsel, and bring back answers to the point where the board's comfortable enough to make a vote.
I agree with that.
No, we're closing the public hearing, right? So with that, Mayor, we have a resolution to close the public hearing regarding a petition for a change of zoning classification from professional office PO district to moderate density residence RM district, submitted by Beechwood Port Jefferson LLC for the property located at 450 Myrtle Avenue, Port Jefferson, New York 11777, and known as Suffolk County Tax Map Number 0206 01300 0100 008001 and 009001, and to place the matter on a decision calendar at an unspecified date. May I have a motion?
Motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are we ready to move on?
Yes, Mayor, at this time, we can proceed with our agenda action items.
Okay.
With resolution number 102-225. Resolution approving the attached minutes of the September 24th, 2025 and October 8th, 2025 meetings of the Village of Port Jefferson Board of Trustees. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution number 102-225, resolution rescinding resolution number 692425 from the September 24th, 2025 meeting of the Village of Port Jefferson Board of Trustees. May I have that motion?
Motion?
Second. On the question? Why are we rescinding it?
There is no longer a need for that because that is taking over one of the tasks that was already approved.
Yes, okay.
That was for the drone survey.
Right.
Mhm.
Or just the survey
The
itself?
survey.
Yeah.
Of the
Yes.
property, which is going to be done by, which is in process by GEI for
Right.
the Phase 2 assessment. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Resolution number 102-225. Resolution scheduling a public hearing for 6 o'clock PM on November 19th, 2025 at Village Hall, 121 West Broadway, Port Jefferson, New York, 11777, regarding a proposed local law amending Chapter 250 zoning of the Code of the Village of Port Jefferson by creating and adding a steep slope conservation law. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Resolution number 4-102-225, resolution authorizing the solicitation of a request for proposals for a parking management technology solution to include and not be limited to physical parking meters, software associated with parking meters, license plate reader, information integration, and the dissemination of parking fine monies to the Justice Court. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
So yeah, this is to reevaluate what technology we're using right now,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
And to see if we don't know, what we don't know, and how much we don't know about what technology is available, if it's simpler, if it can give us information that we want to give, and et cetera. So we haven't changed our technology ever since parking came into automated license plate reader program came into play. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Resolution number 5-102225, resolution approving the attached quotations received from National Waste Services LLC, the sole bidder for dumpster service at various village locations per the bid opening on October 17th, 2025. Trustee Hill, welcome back. We're on resolution number 5.
Thank you.
You're welcome. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Resolution number 6-102225, resolution approving the proposal submitted by GEI Consultants, Inc. for an amount not to exceed $53,500 for a structural engineering evaluation of the existing country club building, the review of existing conditions that will be affected during the installation of the upper wall, and the identification of measures to mitigate observed conditions, and authorizing Mayor Shepro to sign the proposal on behalf of the Village of Port Jefferson. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Can we discuss this one? I'm absolutely in full support of doing the structural engineering, but would it make sense not to have this done by a different firm? Because if I were GEI, like when you buy a home, the buyer is the person who has it inspected, because of course the seller is going to want an inspector that says everything is good to go, sell it. Have we considered that in this equation?
We did.
Okay.
We did thoroughly, and with the consultation of our civil engineering firm. So the thought was that it's a great question, and the reason why really Hayduck is recommending GEI do this project is because they are most intimately familiar with all the circumstances around it. B, they are in proximity to the project scope, intimate proximity. And we thought that would be, if we're looking at efficiencies, which it just took everything seems to be taking a long time, notwithstanding the fact that the board meets twice a month. That adds time and distance between every decision that we make. But also, if we have GEI pushing GEI, and if we have Hayduck pushing GEI and questioning GEI, all in the same room together kind of thing, and they're familiar with each other, and we felt like this was, in scope-wise, was the best estimate, because even GEI in the three estimates that we got, GEI had the final category, the final task was not included in the other estimates. So it was a little more thorough as well. So for those reasons, we value the opinion of our engineering firm that is effectively our watchdog, and the opinions of the Commission on Erosion, another watchdog. And so we felt like this was the regulatory environment that would get us to the answers that we really and the information that we need to understand the structural stability of the building. And that benchmarking will help any furtherance of the process moving forward to address any issues, and to have that benchmark of status so that if anything shifts or changes during construction, should construction happen, then we have GEI right there with us all along the way. So we thought about it, and it was deeply and strategically considered by the engineering firm. So.
Yeah, I just think also the other part of this is public faith in a fair and accurate assessment of the building. So, which is beyond the scope of what engineers would recommend, I would bet.
You know, Trustee Hill.
Like
when-
beyond what HIDUC is employed to consider is what I meant.
Oh, no, they are. They're right there. They get it. Do they, Bob?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They do.
They've been,
No, I understand they understand it from the
They-
engineering side, but
No.
they understand
They've
that
been
the
seeing it from
public
the
skepticism
yes,
of
yes,
having.
they
okay.
know everything that we've been,
So from a vendor management standpoint, you may recall that I originally was asking that question, right? And where I landed on this and why I support this one is, in the absence of HADUC, I would worry about a third-party company coming in, because having spent as much time in consulting as I have, that's how you take business away from your competitor, right? You go in and you shoot their data full of holes. I'm confident that HADUC is our fiduciary watchdog on this, and that they will hold GI's feet to the fire, which I've already watched them do now. I had to sit in, Bob, for 1 or 2 of your meetings, so I've sort of pivoted off of worried about conflict of interest to a higher comfort level that HADUC will ride them. Sorry, GI, if you're listening.
Kudos for negotiating the price down, so.
thank you. I'm just looking for that commentary from them.
Are you looking for the commentary from HADUC, Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
Would you like me to read it?
Sure.
Thank you. Based on our review of the proposal submitted, we would recommend reaching out to GEI Consultants in an effort to negotiate their fees to be more competitive with the other proposers. That was done. Although all three firms are equally qualified to perform the services required, GEI would be in the best position to coordinate the potential Phase 2 impact analysis and implement any necessary design modifications, and do so in the shortest time frame.
So that was something that I did mention, because the recommendation to do the structural analysis prior to construction happening, because there are circumstances where the structural analysis is done during construction. But right now, where the design plan stands is at 90%. So we'll be seeing that design plan at the next meeting. We'll try and set up something with the Erosion Commission to take a look at that beforehand. But the engineer who's designing the drainage and the project itself will take that evaluation and will not finalize the design until that is done. So that's another aspect of the consideration.
Yeah, no, I'm confident that Haydock will hold GEI's feet to the fire if they need to. I don't know if that will be necessary, but they'll be a good watchdog for the village.
Will we have the 90% sometime in advance of the next meeting? Like, how much time are we talking about so we can actually do a thorough review of it?
So I think we all want to see it at the same time together. We'll, like I just said to Trustee Giuliano, we'll try and get it on a calendar so that members of the Citizens Commission on Erosion can have a preliminary review of it. Which would you rather do first? Have the commission look at it first or Board of Trustees?
Both. Why not? It's always good to have it a little bit in advance so that you have some time to look
Yeah,
at it.
well, so looking at the plans without the context of the presentation is something, I don't know, as a board, I'd like us all to hear it at the same time with having the same questions, and I think that would be, for me, but I don't,
Mayor, as always, and even based on this evening, the idea of sharing drafts with members
I'm afraid it's going to be on Facebook. I'm afraid whatever we give in advance is going to find its way to Facebook, and it's going to be an offense-defense situation again.
or subject to public comment from someone who's not a member of the public, like a village volunteer. Debating it before it becomes final, and it's been my concern for my 2.5 years here.
So to address again the Facebook comment, that was all information that was spoken at any of our public hearings and/or work sessions. And I corrected the 31% to remind everybody it was 29.7%, but it wasn't that, the numbers weren't off that much. But are you saying that you won't provide information to a trustee, an elected official in this village?
Whatever goes out in the packet from the clerk's office?
Because you just said you were concerned about it being posted on Facebook. And that is not a parameter of restraining information from a trustee in this village.
No one's
Attorney Moran?
restraining anything from
Well,
anybody.
You just said you were afraid to hand it out because you were afraid it would go on Facebook. So again, there's been nothing I put on Facebook that has never been presented at a meeting. I take offense to that, and the community should too. So let's just listen. If
I
your
take
answer,
offense
if
to
your
your
answer
posts
is
on
you won't
Facebook.
provide the documents because you're afraid that something will be put out there, well, show me something that has been put out there that that hasn't been discussed.
I think
in a
we're getting.
public
I think we're
session.
getting off
anyhow.
off the subject. Again, I believe since it has never been changed, when the information becomes available for the board to review and discuss, every board member gets it and review and discuss. We're bound by other obligations and other ethical rules as far as draft projects that are draft reports that aren't subject to FOIL. Work product considerations of the people we employ to produce that. My concern has nothing to do with any of that. My concern has to do with certain boards who certain board members, when given information in advance, discuss it in public in advance of this board, who is responsible for it, making a final decision of what that should look like. Now, Trustee Giuliano, bringing the draft project along with him to a meeting and discussing some of those parameters and getting that feedback to bring back from the board, highly appropriate. Continuing to show up at public meetings as a chair of a board to speak at public comment when you're not speaking as a member of the public, you're speaking as an appointed representative of this village, is highly inappropriate. And that's my fear. Your guys' fear? Not mine.
So we're in the middle of voting on something?
So with that, Mayor, we have a motion and a second. And all in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed?
No.
Motion carries.
Resolution number 7-102-225. Resolution approving the renaming of East Beach Road to Village Beach Road, approving the renaming of West Beach Road to Beach Club Road, and authorizing Clerk Perillo to file all required outside agency documents to formally effectuate the name changes. May I have a motion?
Motion?
Second.
Can you read that again, please?
Yes. Resolution approving the renaming of East Beach Road to Village Beach Road, approving the renaming of West Beach Road to Beach Club Road, and authorizing Clerk Perillo to file all required outside agency documents to formally effectuate the name changes.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Resolution number 8-102-225.
Did
Oh,
we do that
excuse
one?
me?
Did that.
Yeah.
Already done? Resolution number 9-102-225. Resolution approving the request by the United States Coast Guard Auxiliary to use the Village Hall courtroom from 8 o'clock a.m. through 5 o'clock p.m. on January 17th, 2026, to conduct a boater safety course with the $25 per person fee to cover books and materials. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Resolution number 10-102-225. Resolution approving the attached order form from Placer Labs, Inc. for the use by the Village of Port Jefferson of the Placer AI software and analytics platform, and authorizing Mayor Shepro to sign the order form on behalf of the Village of Port Jefferson. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Discussion. From what I understand from the original presentation, that the Civic Association and the bid would be the two entities that they would have access to this, or was that changed?
Not the Civic.
It's the chamber.
Chamber, I apologize. Chamber,
Yeah.
thank you, Bob, for the
The next
correction.
resolution is the
Okay.
memorandum of understanding for everyone to share that software.
Thank you, Dave.
It was purposefully done this way. We had to approve the order form before the
Okay.
MOU.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
The only other thing is,
Maybe
we've, so this was being, the plan for to pay for this was to use parking fees, correct?
Yes.
And we've had recent comments to the board to amend our current parking structure. Can you just remind us how much this is going to cost the village from our parking fees to pay for this? And to be clear, I think that this is an appropriate expenditure from the revenue we get from parking fees. I just want to make sure, for the record, it's clear to everyone.
So I think it's 8,000 in the first year,
year.
which is.
First,
shared cost.
the idea of this three-party process is one of the parties, I believe it's the chamber, has a grant for it to save $2,000 the first year. So the first year it would cost the village $4,000, right? Because we're splitting the
Three.
costs.
It's 3, 3, and 2.
332.
The two.
3, 3, and 2.
Yeah.
And then moving forward, half of 9,000, right? Because it's always,
Yep.
and then 5,000 the same subsequent year.
So the answer is 3,000, 4,500, and 5,000 respectively for each of 3 years.
With
Okay.
the expectation that the chamber will continue to apply for that grant to offset the
I see.
cost. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Resolution number 11-102-225. Resolution approving the attached memorandum of understanding between the Village of Port Jefferson, the Greater Port Jefferson Chamber of Commerce, and the Village of Port Jefferson Business Improvement District for the use of the Placer AI software and analytics platform, and authorizing Mayor Shepro to sign the agreement on behalf of the Village of Port Jefferson. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Resolution number 12-102-225, resolution approving, accepting the resignation of Dennis Bade as the Village Center Building Manager, effective October 14th, 2025. May I have a motion?
Motion?
Second.
Just a little bit about Dennis. Dennis is going on to greener pastures because he's going to go work for the Suffolk County farm.
So literally.
Ba-dum-bum.
I didn't plan that, honestly. But Dennis has been a great person working in the village center, very congenial and accommodating, helpful. Every time we have a meeting there, he's always helpful to see if we needed extra chairs, tables, whatever, just always jumps up without even being asked. And, we'll miss him, but we're happy for him because he is going on to something that's got a little bit more responsibility and more interaction with the public, but I'm sure he'll be happy over there and they'll be happy with him. So, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Resolution number 13-102-225, resolution hiring Gregory Munson as the village superintendent of public works at an annual salary of $125,000 per year, effective November 10th, 2025. The standard 26-week civil service probationary period applies to this provisional appointment. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
On the motion, I just want to say, I interviewed him. Outstanding candidate. I really think he's going to do well here in the village. Very impressed with his interview as well as his background and everything, and I think he's going to do very well here.
I'd like to second that. He was spot on in all of his responses. Whatever question we asked, he really had a detailed explanation on how he would follow through on it. He was very good.
That was experience-based. And the thing that I like, actually, very much about him in particular was the fact that he also has experience with golf courses. So, so there may be some additional opportunity to
Collaborate.
Yep. Across departments. I always love that.
I appreciate everybody on this board being interested and available to interview him, to take the time. He came into Port Jeff specifically to interview for this job. He's got local family, so that's good. He's a Long Island native. I appreciate our clerk for working hard to get this done.
Thank you.
Because it was a lot of work. Won't go into the details of it, but it was a heavy lift. Not because of his qualifications, but because of the process that you have to go to hire somebody in this village and in Suffolk County. So, not that there's anything wrong with that.
Mayor, prior to the board's vote, I also, just because it hasn't been mentioned yet, although it's been touched on, that this candidate is a product of a nationwide search that yielded probably the best possible candidate for the village.
Yeah.
And he made the trip from Colorado just to interview with us.
Yep.
So the position he's in right now is at the elevation of about 9,800 feet. And so that means a lot of snow. We removed a lot of snow already. So if anybody was worried whether or not he would be able to manage a snow removal situation, I think your fears can be alleviated.
That's true.
But that's just the tip of the
Iceberg?
Iceberg.
You're on a roll.
Oh, man. I didn't say it.
tip of the. All right, so Greg Munson, do we have, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries.
Resolution number 14-102-225, resolution authorizing the Village of Port Jefferson to conduct a tax lien sale at 10 o'clock a.m. on March 10th, 2026 at Village Hall, 121 West Broadway, Port Jefferson, New York, 11777. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Resolution number 15-102-225, resolution to account for projected shortfall in the Port Jefferson Country Club maintenance overtime line item at no net change to the budget by authorizing Treasurer Gafka to perform attached budget transfer number 38 as follows. Decrease expenses for line item CR 79892103, PJCC building repairs by $2,000. Increase expenses for line item CR 798946, PJCC miscellaneous supplies by $3,000. And increase expenses for line item CR 798913, PJCC overtime by $5,000. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
And so I'll just note that in the proposed 2027 fiscal year budget, there has been an increase to the potential overtime budget by an amount that should reflect that we wouldn't have to do this type of transfer in the future. So just say all in favor.
Mayor, I'm sorry.
Hold on one second.
If we may, one moment.
Uh-oh.
In order to equal 5.
In order to equal 5?
Yeah, this should have said decrease.
Okay, so Mayor, we have an amendment to the resolution. The second line where it says increase expenses for line item CR 7989-460 should read decrease.
Decrease.
So that we add to 5.
Yeah.
Thank you, Attorney Moran. So we'll amend that to read decrease expenses for line item CR 7989-460 by $3,000.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Good catch.
Good catch.
Well done. Resolution number 16-102-225, resolution authorizing the use of general fund balance equity to fund village engineering expenses for the remainder of fiscal 2026 due to increased cost projections for engineering tasks associated with various required capital and grant projects by authorizing Treasurer Gafka to perform budget amendment number 110 as follows. Increase revenue for line item A, 8022, fund balance equity during year by $70,000, and increase expenses for line item A, 14404, village engineering expenses by $70,000. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Resolution number 17-102-225, resolution approving the check register and warrants dated October 20th, 2025, as presented by Treasurer Gafka and as approved by Claims Auditor Goodwin. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Resolution number 18-102-225, resolution to enter into executive session at 8:47 PM to discuss a contract negotiation and the specific performance of a particular employee. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Are we voting when we come back?
Mayor, it is not expected, no.
Okay. So you're free to go. Thank you.
You okay with me just call and make a